He has played Zebedee in The Football Factory. He has played Craig Rolfe in The Foot Soldier. And he's played a rent boy in The Business. Roland Barukian!
I don't think we can keep a straight face even when we're not acting. We get in each other's company and that's it.
So I know you don't do a lot of these. I don't think you've done any podcasts, have you?
No, an exclusive. Exclusive.
I walked in and I see these two sort of very handsome, tall, athletic young men together. I thought, I'm not going to get it. And this pirate version, all over the country, they were just being sold as DVDs, like you couldn't imagine.
You're going, look, just stop making me laugh. I'm going, what? You're making me laugh.
I don't know how we got through it. We had a scene in a limousine. Like, I literally felt dirty after.
We were just in the Range Rover and then we put on that Baby Let Me Love You Tonight and we just started singing Cheese.
Yeah.
And you were coming up with a pill and you're in the cafe and going...
Yes, sorry, I've taken so many pills in these films. I've got a sort of Fighting Conor Benn, probably one of the highlights for me, because he's such a phenomenal boxer.
You'll always be Rolfie to me.
Yeah,
So I want to say a big thank you to all their sponsors for making this podcast happen. Without you, we wouldn't be here. Stargaze Entertainment, thank you so much. These guys are hosting celebrity events up and down the country, giving you the opportunity to get up close and personal with your favourite celebrities. SurePure CBD, your natural path to wellness and balance. Dream Mentoring for all your mentoring needs. If you need some positivity in your life, Tom Smith is the man. And finally, to Carson & Kay Solicitors, the UK's leading criminal law firm, to help get you out of any tricky situations you may find yourself in after watching this podcast. To find out more about any of their sponsors, click on the links in the description below.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Criminal Connection podcast. Today, we've got an acting legend. He has played Zebedee in The Football Factory. He has played Craig Rolfe in The Foot Soldier, and he's played a rent boy in The Business. Please put your hands together for the one, the only, Roland Barukian. How you doing, mate?
Sweet, Tom.
It's so good to see you, mate.
Thank
and I'm
you.
so glad that you come on because we've known each other, well, it's actually since the first Foot Soldier, isn't it?
17 years. 17 years it is.
How did you put up with me for that long?
Well, for 10 years, I blanked you. And it's only since we've reprived all of the films that we got together again.
But, I mean, loads of people. It's actually quite funny because the amount of people who say they love that sort of Tony and Craig double act, if you like, in the Foot Soldier films. And, you know, I've always enjoyed working with you, Ro. And, you know, we've always had, like, probably the best time. You know what I mean? It's...
I concur, 100%. You know, even I don't think we can keep a straight face even when we're not acting. We get in each other's company and that's it. We're away. It doesn't take much. But yeah, it was, you know, when you think we made that film 17 years ago, when we was all really sort of green and not really, you know, as experienced and long in the tooth in the industry as we are now. And then some sort of, I think it was like 10 years later we made the third one, and then that's when we all got back together again and we realised, you know, what a great time we had. And then subsequently we made the fourth one in Marbella, which was just
that was the best one.
Yeah, which is brilliant, wasn't it? Went to Amsterdam.
It was, yeah. I mean, we will really drill into this because there's so many great stories. But I think what, and I appreciate you coming because I know you don't do a lot of these. I don't think you've done any podcasts, have you?
No.
So this is an original. This is the first time we've got the main man out. So
an exclusive.
Exclusive. A lot of the viewers and listeners will probably be saying is, you know, that they will have all had a film, whether it was Charlie Bright, whether it was Rock and Roller, whether it was Football Factory. There'd be a film when they recognise you. And the first film that I saw with you in was a Football Factory, and I remember saying that. And bear in mind, right, I know you weren't a kid, but you've got that sort of thing where you look really young. And I remember saying, that kid in the baseball cap, he is blinding. He's a great actor. I'd love to work with him. And that really was the catalyst for us approaching you on the first Foot Soldier, because obviously Craig looked a little bit like Pat Tate, or, you know, he's the same sort of physicality. And obviously you had that sort of, and obviously because I only ever saw you with a baseball cap on, I obviously didn't know what sort of hair you had. So me and you both shared the same barber, didn't we? We had them silly wigs stuck on, didn't we?
No, well, that was, you know, when we had the wigs, that was really funny, to be fair. That was just like, it was that the attention to detail on that first film, and you got to give it to Julian and Will, it was like phenomenal. The forensics and trying to match it, they done such a great job. And it just so happened that the characters we played had terrible 80s hairstyles, didn't they, that we got to experience wigs.
And you might just take your hat off.
Yeah, no,
so you can see we've got a lot in common, right?
So what was really funny, and funny enough, is something I remark on, is when we made the original film, which was 17, I think maybe 18 years ago, the character Craig Rolfe, he had long hair and short hair in the movie, and then for the long hair segments, I had the wig on, and for the short hair segments, I had my own hair at the time.
Right.
But when we come to
the
make,
good old days,
yeah,
right?
the good old days, the good 17 years ago. But when we come to make the third movie, which was I think about 12 years later or something like that, sort of out of the blue, I needed 2 wigs because I had no hair at the time, so I needed a long hair wig and now a short hair wig. So and what was blinding is we were making a prequel as well, so we were coming in 15 years or 10 years later, playing younger than we did 17 years ago. And now I've got no hair, so I've got a short hair wig and a long hair wig. So I didn't even have anything to come to the table with that was natural.
If I'd have said to you, though, in 2006, when we was actually making that movie, right, listen, you ain't to believe this, but in 17 years' time, we're going to be playing ourselves younger than we are now, right? In a film called Rise of the Foot Soldiers, you'd have probably been like, not in a million years.
Yeah, of course.
So it's funny, isn't it? It's funny how the world works, and it's funny how, I mean, the fan base, all the Foot Soldier fans, you know, we love you. I mean, you know, it's so funny, like, you know, with the new one that's coming out now.
Yeah.
Every other message is, why aren't you and Roland in the trailer? And it's like, you know, we're not in it, right? It's not about us, you know what I mean? We've been in, you know, it's like, you know, when they did the Origins, which was called the Tony Tucker story, Craig wasn't going to be in that. So it was just going to be me and you, and then obviously, you know, Josh, George, Vinny. Do you know what I mean? So he wasn't going to be in. So the fact that he actually did come in it for a few scenes, but you know, I think with the franchise, you know, Pat's obviously got his own thing with this one, and you know they're talking about doing Foot Soldier IP for now. So
really?
We'll be back soon.
Oh,
right?
hopefully we get a shout on that one. No, look, I think there is a, and both you and Andy are the masters of it in terms of producing these films. You really are, because there's a subculture and a demographic that these genre of films really appeals to, and is representative as well. And I think that's where it touches sort of the bones of the fans, especially, is because it's you know, obviously we're not condoning sort of violence and sort of misogyny or anything. That's not what these are about. But it's just like sort of having some sort of representation that isn't someone who's like a posh lad, or isn't someone that's a middle class lad. That there's someone that's good. There's some connection to him, like you know, and the people that you know maybe share a connection sort of with the violence aspect of these films, they should seek help, really. Do you know what I mean? Because that's not what we're making them for. But there's a real subculture that we as actors are lucky to be involved in and to sort of as representatives of.
But I think with gangster films, and I'm talking about Goodfellas, Casino, I'm talking about Football Factory, I'm talking about Foot Soldier, The Business, whatever. All of these films, right, all have the same thing where, you know, I think the reason people like them, they like seeing men behaving badly. And women like it as well. It's not just about boys. And I think that it's like escapism. It's sort of like, you know, I'm sure loads of people would love to be Craig Rolfe or Tony Tucker or Pat Tate. And I'm sure up to the point where they got in the Range Rover, right, and got killed, right? or you know, some of these other criminals who have gone to jail for 30 years. That part's not fun, but the actual behaving badly bit, I think, appeals to people. And you know, if you work in an office or you leave a standard sort of 9 to 5 life, it's a way of escapism, just like watching Avatar is, you know.
Yeah.
So, but obviously, it's there's no chance in Avatar. Do you know what I mean?
There's no cheese you can't either, you know.
But from you, Roland, I mean, what I'm sure lots of people will be interested in. When did you sort of realise that you wanted to be an actor?
Well, I was really lucky, to be fair. I went and trained to be an actor, and I was very close, believe it or not, to becoming a dancer, which is not something I share.
You wasn't dancing with Ricky Harnett, were you?
No,
Right.
Ricky's a much more talented dancer than I am, to be fair.
But what sort of dancing was you?
So I was going to go to the Laban Dance Centre. I was going to go and train to become a dancer. I won a place there.
What sort of dancing?
It's contemporary dance.
Right, okay.
And then...
You told me this. You know, next time we're working,
yeah, no, we're going to get the old tap shoes out. And that, no, and it just so happened that the BBC were casting a film, and they came into the college that I was studying at,
Right.
and I sort of managed to nick a part in it.
Right.
But prior to that, I auditioned for a Tim Roth movie, which he directed, called The War Zone.
Right.
Which Ray Winston was in.
Great
And
film.
I got to meet Ray Winston, who was like my idol at the time, and still very much so, and Tim Roth again, legends in the game. But I met them at college, and it sort of set my sights. It sort of gave me a little insight that,
Right.
I've met these people that I've been watching. It was around the time of Neil by Mouth, and around the time of Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. So like, these are people I've been watching in the cinema,
Right.
and then I've just gone and done an audition with them, and it was me or someone else. And as in acting, you get, sadly you don't get all the parts, and obviously the other geezer was for getting the part.
Of course he was.
Yeah, completely. But it set my...
You'd have done it much better.
Yeah, obviously, but it set my sights, and then I managed to. So when I got this opportunity to do the BBC drama Storm Damage, which Lenny James created, wrote and created, I was then a very influential casting agent called Gina J, who's amazing, and I love Gina. Without Gina, there's no career at all. She sort of rang me up because she cast The War Zone, said, "What are you up to?" I explained to her that I was doing this thing with the BBC. She was like, "You got to get an agent," and it just sort of took off from there. So I had an intermediate sort of training, but nothing accredited or anything.
Right.
And then, but managed to join William Morris and Vanessa Pereira, who was the top agent at the time, at Top Agency. And it just sort of, I was incredibly lucky. I don't think it can happen like that, or if it does happen like that, it's very rare now.
Right.
And it may have been rare at the time, but I was very, very lucky to get into it. So I set myself up by training a little bit, give myself a chance with learning sort of like basic skill set,
Right.
put the foundations in place, and then it's a bit of luck. And then fortunately it came my way, really. And I joined a terrific agency. And
Who was that? That was
William Morris.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, you was with Independent as well?
Yeah, so William Morris was disbanded in England.
Right.
It's still in America, but and when that happened, it became AIN, or Artists Independent Network, or something like that. And then I then moved from there a few years later to Independent, which was ICM at the time. Again, a very, very prestigious agency. I was incredibly lucky, but it's on merit as well. You don't go with these people unless you've got some sort of body of work. And then I was with them for a long, long time, and then I speak in acting now in terms of decades, and it's scary. I'm an old man now. Do you know what I mean?
Still look young though.
Yeah,
bro.
thank you.
With
Thank
the cap
you.
on, mate.
Yeah, just take the cap off. All of a sudden, when I go to the shop, I don't get asked for ID, and if they ask me for ID, I just take my cap off like that and go on, you know what I mean? Especially if I don't have a shave as well. But no, I was just really, really lucky, and to have very, very good mentors and people around me who sort of were very influential and guiding, and sort of made me make some good decisions. It set me up brilliantly, really. And the rest is down to you. They have to get you in the room, but you have to get the job ultimately. So I was just very, very lucky, I must say.
And what would you say? Obviously that getting the agent, doing that BBC thing, they was obviously good breaks. But what would you say was your first big break where you went, wow, you know, I'm finally doing something and I'm working with people, like you said, you know, you didn't get the Ray Winston job, but working with people like that you thought, wow, you know, this actually could be something.
When you're with a great agent, that they have access to the big projects because their other clients are on these bigger projects, and that's sort of how it works. You know what I mean? If you were, you know, so I was very fortunate enough to be part of some quite epic projects, and I think the first time I realised that, you know, or the first time I thought, oh, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm not, by the way, but I thought I might be because I got paid a lot of money. So I did an Oliver Twist.
Wow.
An ITV adaptation of Oliver Twist, Alan Bleasdale's adaptation. And the cast was just phenomenal. Like Julie Walters, Robert Lindsay, Michael Kitchen, Andy Serkis, Emily Wolf, Mark Warren,
Ronan Minucci.
Yeah, mate, Ronan Minucci. Like the list, it was just this massive, epic.
Right.
6-part, 1.5 hour ITV episodic Oliver Twist adaptation, and I was working with people that I grew up watching, like legends in the acting game, and sort of I was like, oh wow, and what was good is I got to test myself against them, and watch these real sort of craftspeople who've mastered their craft sort of go on and who have gone on to have wonderful careers, and watch them, and sort of that's really, you know, like I've been very fortunate enough to work with some amazing people, and sort of on the other side of that, I've also worked with some actors that went on, like, so I did a Guy Ritchie film called Rock and Roller, which was like phenomenal, and the actors in that, they're the biggest actors in the world now, like Tom Hardy, Toby Kebbell, Idris Elba, Gerard Butler, and at the time when I worked with them, they were big, but they were on the periphery of where they are now, the status of their sort of their position and status in acting now as like at the top of the game. But it was just, so that's what sort of happens if you're lucky enough. You can get work with projects and work with these amazing actors.
So Goodbye Charlie Bright, was that your first big sort of break, would you say?
Yeah, completely. So
how did that come about?
Well, I was doing, so from what I remember, I was doing the Oliver Twist film, TV, and I went and had it was all over the world, and I had a little meeting in the Groucho with Nick Love and about the film, and I went in and met Nick, and on that day Paul Nichols, who was in the film, and Danny Dyer who was also in the film, was sitting next to Nick in the Groucho, and I walked in and I see these two sort of very handsome, tall, you know, athletic young men together. I thought, I'm not going to get this. You know? Like, I've just thought, like they're brilliant together. But Nick sort of wanted the sort of the elfin sort of featured little look like that I am, to sort of cause a bit of upset between the two of them. So it worked out lovely. But there was something really sort of natural. It was a film about a South London council estate, and it was a film about kids from a South London council estate, and it was like only a few months prior to it, I was still living on the council estate. Do you know what I mean? So there was this.
I couldn't have got anyone better, really.
No, it was like, and for me as well, it was a wonderful introduction, because I went from sort of playing peripheral parts in things, and sort of you work your way up. You know, you very rarely come into this game and play the lead in a movie, or that you usually sort of. There's a sort of a due process, and you pay your dues, if you like. So, but it was the first time I played the second lead in a film, or help carry a film, and that was eye opening. Like, that's when you're in every day, and as you know, like, you go and do a couple of days on a film, or even a week on a film. You're in and out. You're not really part of it. You're a small cog in a very big machine. Yeah. But as you know, when you're in every day, when you're sort of the motor of it, it's taxing, as well as being really rewarding, because you can really work on what you're doing. You really get to understand the technical side of it, the way it works. It's beautiful. But yeah, Charlie Bright for me was not only eye-opening, but it was the first film, and I think it was the first feature film that I was in as well.
Wow. So that was your first break into the movies. And then obviously there's some bits after that. But then obviously Nick come back with a Football Factory, and obviously because you'd already worked with him in Charlie Bright, it's probably an obvious port of call.
Yeah, you say that, but the Football Factory was being made. It was actually being made. I think Sean Bean was in it.
Yeah.
Frank Harper was in it still.
Yeah.
And there was a whole different cast. And they had filmed maybe about 4 or 5 days, and it was like, this ain't going to work. And they just stopped production, which is, it wouldn't happen.
I didn't even know I didn't even know that story.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I think Vertigo Films then sort of were like, what can we do to salvage this film? And then I don't know how Nick got involved, but Nick came on board and sort of just completely, turned it into what we know it is today. Obviously with the help from Vertigo as well, but very much a vision from Nick Love. And I think, funny enough, I think there's a reason the Football Factory and partly the Foot Soldier film, they resonate as well. So the slightly different reasons, but coming together is like the Football Factory is based on a book, part of a trilogy of books. So there's a real depth to it. It's not just like a fictional story about what we're going to make something up about. It's that it's because it's based on a book, a fictional book, maybe partly true, but there's just a bit of depth to it. It's layered. It's a bit more layered. Yeah. And the same with the Foot Soldier, which is now turned into a franchise. That's based on real life, so there's a real anchorage to it that holds it, and I think that's why it resonates maybe as well as some other films, but maybe those two in particular.
Would you say when Football Factory come out, that's when you started getting recognised in the street? Because I think lots of people when we did the first Foot Soldier, they were like, "Oh, Zebedee's in it," and it's like, well, no, his name's Roland Manukian, but people were just like, "No, Zebedee, that's blinding," So
it was amazing. So when I first started acting, you get a little bit of notoriety. They don't make him anymore, but there was things like the bill, you'd be on the bill, and everyone would be, "Oh, you was on the bill."
But back then there was millions of people watching TV, weren't there?
Yeah,
now
maybe.
It seems to be there's a lot less people watching. I mean, EastEnders was 22 million people watching it. Now I think it's like a couple of million. So I think maybe it's just because there's so much choice. And people, and I definitely think TV, like when you look at the soaps, I don't think they're as good as they were, because I think they're a little bit like politicians. They're trying to be everything to everyone, and obviously it doesn't work. So if you're EastEnders, you just got to be London, right? If you're Coronation Street, but obviously they're all trying to tick these boxes. But then if you look at some of the actual TV shows that are 8 episodes or 10 episodes, and there's a season 1 or whatever, they're spending so much money on them. They get such good actors, such good writers. The quality of the TV stuff like that is better than film in some cases.
Yeah. Well,
So I think what's happened is a lot of audiences have gravitated. I've done it myself. Have gravitated to watching that, and then when they watch something else that's being made on a smaller budget with not as good actors, and there's a lot of box ticking, and it's sort of like we're trying to be everything to everyone. You just sort of think, I don't really want to watch that. And I do think right now that's a problem with acting as well, because a lot of actors are being inhibited in actually acting. If you look at a lot of people now, they're sort of saying, if you need a working class guy, you've got to get a working class guy. There's no, in the old days, people would say, "Oh, could you put on an accent? Could you play?"
Yeah, of
these
course.
different roles.
We got to be careful about devaluing the craft and skill of acting, but ultimately, it's as you know as well, it's business driven.
Yeah.
So like you can have all of the boxes that need to be ticked and put in place and everything, but if the actor or actress that you want to play the lead doesn't tick the box where you get money for them, then the film doesn't get made, or the team. Right. So it's all money driven. So it's slightly hypocritical, really, when you look at it, when you think, because it's the same actors who are in everything. Otherwise, it wouldn't get made.
But that's one of the frustrations I have. When I put the telly on, and every single season of whatever it is, whether it's Line of Duty or The Crown or whatever, it's always like the same actors in the same things. And for me, I understand they have to have these like anchors, if you like, to drive the thing, but there's so many actors, and talking to lots of actors that have come out of drama school, that are up and coming, or that have been in a few bits, you know, they're not getting a fair crack. And there's obviously a lot of talented actors out there that aren't. Well, I mean, 95% of all actors are unemployed, and that's actually quite a scary thought. You know?
Yeah, it is really, really scary. But you know, if you take for example the film Harry Potter, so it's a really good example because it's sort of, even though it's Warner Brothers, it's American money and stuff, but it's British. It's fundamentally British. J.K. Rowling and so on. So they had a really good opportunity with that because the book was so much bigger than the film ever was, or is. It's huge. It's like phenomenal, a phenomenon. So you had an opportunity there to cast, like you did with the kids, pretty much unknown actors, the whole way across, because no one would have cared. But business demands that you put, you know, like, you know, when you think like the likes of Alan Rickman, sadly not here anymore, like one of the best actors ever, like. So put him in it, it's going to be fantastic. And all of the actors who are in it are fantastic. And it's sort of, there's this thing with actors, maybe in the circle of actors, of how many of the Harry Potter cast have you worked with? Right. Or how far away are you, like the 7 degrees of separation? Right. Fine, because that film had pretty much the top shelf of English refined actors, you know, or what we consider, like, there isn't one, and you sort of just work out yourself, like, you know, how many have I actually worked with, like, you know, like, so immediately with you, I think Tim Spall, like, that would be one, because you know what I mean, just you Nick Moran, like, you feel all of a sudden, you go, bloody hell, I've worked with loads of them, because they're all of the top actors that were in that film, so, but that's a different level of sort of filmmaking and stuff, and and equally frustrating that, you know, and as you know, as a producer, tell, like, you just want to make a good film, ultimately, and like, good films can have actors that are not known, and it can be surprising, and it can be you know, like, innovative, but not always. They can also be as well.
That is true. That is true.
Do you know what I mean? So sorry. Go back to your point about the football festival. It's like we've gone off on a different tangent. It was the first time I started getting recognised on a big scale, but that was because the film got pirated very early on. So there was a cut that was released, the assembly cut, which you would know what that means, got released, like, I don't know, 8 months, 9 months prior to the actual film.
And if you're wondering what we're talking about, an assembly cut is basically the cut of the film, but the sound's not mixed, the grade's not done, so it's just literally all of the scenes edited together, but it's not the final thing.
As
so
raw
that's
as
what
it can come, basically. And this pirate version, when, like, the word, like, it would be the equivalent of something going viral now, but it wasn't online then. It would, and so it shows you what a sort of phenomenon it was, because all over the country they were just being sold as DVDs, like you couldn't imagine, like phenomenal, like, so. And at the time, funny enough, we were going to work with Nick Moran. I was doing a tour of a play. Nick Moran wrote a play.
Is that Telstar?
Yeah, Telstar, which he went on to make the film as well. And we was doing this tour around the UK, and I went up as far up as Darlington with this, and the film had not been out. It's not out yet, but I was getting recognised everywhere, like everywhere. Like that season, it was my football team, Millwall, got to the FA Cup final that season, and we travelled away. Me and Frank Harper travelled away to every game. And everywhere we went, we were getting recognised. But the film's not out. It's not officially been released. But, like, everywhere. It was so, and I think that sort of drove its cult following a little bit as well. Right. So there was a real interest and a real sort of energy and sort of appetite for the finished film once it officially got released. So not a good strategy, but it didn't harm us, to be fair.
I know that film, I'm pretty sure, sold 1 million DVDs when DVDs were a thing. Yeah. And that's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a lot of units, isn't it? It's a lot of units. That's right. That's right. But that film changed my life. Right. And what's really funny about acting, funny enough, is before that I'd done so much, and after it I've done so much. But that's probably the definitive part for me. Like, and I haven't chosen that. That's what's chosen me. Do you know, like you were saying, that's that fellow, or that's the geezer, or that's Zebedee. Like, that's it to this day. Do you know what I mean? Still, like, obviously we've done films together. People might go, oh, you played Frankie Fraser or Craig Rolfe or
You'll always be Rolfie to
yeah,
me.
yeah. No, but even a great one when Tony Denham, who was in the Football Factory, and Carlton Leach fought each other.
Right.
I was split because I was like, well, I'll have a draw because I was in both the films. Do you know what I mean? And you know, fortunate for me, I was. But I have
Who do you want to win? I don't mind. I like them both.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
On the fence. And then the business that come pretty much straight after, didn't it? And what happened? I mean, obviously the business is a great movie, but you know, it was a transition from you because obviously you went from playing like sort of football hooligan scrote off an estate to this other character. I mean, what was it like filming that?
That was so much fun. Like that was one. It was Nick Love. For me, I think that's his best film.
See, I've never worked with Nick, but what's he like as a director? Would you?
I think he's unbelievable.
Right.
Like, I've spoke to Nick briefly this year and a couple of times last year. I don't have a massive, extensive friendship with him or anything like that. But when I was in his company, when I made those films, I never felt more alive and more like an actor and like more fulfilled in what I was doing. He's a wonderful man who's a real genius when it comes to sort of films and writing in particular and getting us as working class and sort of, but putting it on the screen as well though, because it's still great being able to talk, but putting it there and I think for me he shows off in that film. I think that's him as a proud peacock.
Look at me.
Look at what I can do.
Yeah.
You've got Dyer, who's probably his best performance ever. I think he's better in the business than he is the Football Factory personally.
Right.
I don't think you'll ever get a better Tamer Hassan. I think that's probably his pinnacle performance as well. And then the introduction of Jeff Bell to a wider audience, which I think was.
Well, that definitely put him massively on the map, didn't it?
100%. And I think, but that film was just a different level of film for everybody. And it was great fun because it was filmed out in Spain. And as we know, when you take a film out to Spain, it's great fun. You know what I mean? Like, it's very like ours, taking every day, terrorising each other every day. You know, like just like chaos. You know what I mean? Just like utter chaos. Not knowing, you know, like all coming out there on the back of and success of the Football Factory, all feeling ourselves, you know, like the ego was like fully pumped. Do you know what I mean? And it was just brilliant. It was just absolute great fun. And funny enough, there's a darker side to it as well because Harvey Weinstein was part of that film.
Because Georgina Chapman was in that movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And that ended up was she dating then, or was that his wife?
She was dating then.
I know he got married and had kids.
No, she was dating it because it was a mad thing because before everything that was revealed about Harvey Weinstein and stuff like that was one of my dinner table stories because he invited us all round to his house and flew Nobu from Barcelona or somewhere to Malaga for us like just this
mad
in the company of someone that's just incredibly wealthy. Do you know what I mean? Like spared no expense, and that was always a good story to tell. But now, obviously, he's a predatory sort of sex fiend. We have to keep that story just now. Like, I never met Harvey. No. When we was in Spain,
he did offer me an Obi one night, but I said no.
Yeah, no, you know,
I'm busy doing my hair.
Yeah.
I met him, and he's quite aggressive. I don't know what he was like when he was, because it was his girlfriend and you were actors and you were in that sort of environment and he was obviously, come out for dinner. Was he like a hospitable?
Double sweet, double sweet, like that, like that's what I was saying. It used to be a story I'd like, just a showing off story. Oh yeah, being in the company, like took us, treated us all to give us a big box set of all Martin Scorsese films.
Amazing.
Yeah, which the funny part of it, we left at the hotel so we didn't forget them. And then the hotel gave them away as presents to a wedding that was going on at the hotel at the same time. So we were like, we've been given all these gifts by Harvey Weinstein, and they've gone. So the hotel's giving them away. So it was like, there's this whole thing. But no, it was mad. That film was a great joy to be part of.
Because I know it did well. It did better than Football Factory at the box office.
Yeah.
But after that, did you get more love from that, or would you say that the Football Factory was because obviously you had a massive part in the Football Factory?
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think the parts that you're lucky enough to get, and the bigger parts you get if you're lucky enough to play, they're going to leave a much more of a sort of a taste with people. So it's just one of those things. Like on that film, like so for example, I very feel part of the structure of the Football Factory, whereas in the business, like I don't feel part of that structure. I'm part of that film, and I got a lovely part, and my story's good, and everything was in it and stuff like. But the narrative is feeding other people's narratives, not my own narrative, not the characters. Do you know what I mean? I'm making the Dyer story funnier because he's been asked to bring someone else out.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's just part and parcel of playing lead characters and stuff. So I felt much more of a piece that was used, you know, as part of the plot and stuff, which is great. I loved it. It was like brilliant. And fair play to Nick because he really, you know, how can you complain? Like one of our great filmmakers, and he stuck me in 3 of his films. Like, you know, like I can only, you know, speak beautiful words about such a lovely man, to be in honesty.
Well, like you said, you know, Goodbye Charlie Brown was your first movie. Football Factory is what defined you, you know, as an actor. And then the business was, like you said, it wasn't a massive role, but it was an integral part of the movie. And, you know, it was like, wow, you know. And look, for me, whether you're in 1 scene or 10 scenes or 30 scenes, if the film's a success, it doesn't matter. You're in something that's been good.
Yeah, well, you know, I think Tel was, you know, because you've been part of some independent British films and successful ones as well. It's like there's a period of time for, I don't know, maybe from like 99 to like 2006. Like I've done like I think about 8 of the top films, like independent British films. Like there's quite a body of work that I was really, really lucky enough to be part of, and I look back on really, really fondly, and I feel like, you know, like with hindsight, you think, if I knew now what I knew then, then maybe I would have enjoyed it more, even though I had a great time, or maybe I would have like, I don't know, been a bit less serious, you know, or took it less serious, because you know, like when you're flying and you're doing well, you think you're the bee's knees and you think you know everything. Do you know what I mean?
Well, when I was doing the clubs between 93 and 2003, I look back on it. At the time, it was just like just getting up, putting on a rave, doing this, doing that, and it was just like probably you know, you're going on a film set, you're doing your job, you're learning your lines, doing your performance, going home, picking up the next day. And I hate to use the word taking things for granted, right? But I genuinely think when you're busy and you're successful, you just think this is how it is. It's like going to work, going in an office every day, 9 to 5. That's your job. That's what you do. Nobody walks in an office and goes, "Oh wow, it's amazing, I'm working in an office." Just like you don't when you go working on a film, you don't go, "Wow." I mean, you probably did the first time you did a movie because it's like, "Wow, I'm actually finally doing a movie." But I think as you get into it, to people looking in outside, me promoting clubs for like 10, 20,000 people, promoting all these amazing things. But to me, I'm just putting an event on. It's a job, right?
Okay.
When you're acting, it's a job, right? You know, you don't walk around on the set going up to people, touch them, going, "Oh, I can't believe I'm working with you. You're an amazing actor." You just go, "Well, we're all working together, making a film. Hopefully it'll turn out all right." Do you know what I mean? And everyone puts in 100%. Some people don't, but most of them do. And my biggest regret of being in the club scene is I always wish I could have gone to one of my own events.
Oh, really?
And also,
Brian,
I wish that I'd have actually. There's a friend of mine, and he said sometimes you have to take the time to smell the flowers. And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, look, you walk past fucking flowers every day. Do you ever stop and go, that's a nice flower?" And you think it's actually right about life. You know, sometimes you have to just take a minute and go, "Wow, you know, how lucky am I that I'm actually working on this film, or I'm working in this business, or I'm doing this role, or I'm putting this event on." And I think that's something, but again, it comes with age. Like you're saying now, you look back and you sort of, you don't have regrets, but you just sort of wish you'd have appreciated more because it was such an amazing time.
Yeah, momentous time, you know. I mean, like life changing, like, you know, life affirming, all the things that you wanted to do, aspire to. So, like, you know, anyone that wants to, you know, now, like anyone that says I want to be an actor or perform, I'm like, go and do it. Like, don't, have a go. Like, don't let that be a regret that you didn't, you know, force yourself, challenge yourself.
Even though 95% all actors But I genuinely think when I got into the acting after I sold the club business, I think if somebody had said to me, "This is how hard it's going to be, this is how long it's going to take, and there's no certainty, and 95% of all actors are unemployed," I think I would have probably gone F that and just not even got involved in it. So in a way, I'm glad that I didn't know the actual facts and I didn't actually talk to any actors, because I think I would have gone, "No, this ain't for me." So in a way, you know, I'm grateful for that. But I genuinely think the good thing right now is social media, right? Some people can hate it, right? But if you've got a phone, you can create whatever you want. You can walk down the road, look at Jake Paul, right? I think he's got something like 45 million followers, right, on YouTube, right? Or subscribers, yeah? And he just did it. I was watching his documentary on Netflix, and he's literally just saying, "I'm just f***ing about with my brother, having a laugh, doing silly shit." And obviously they built their audience up, and you know, they've been doing it for, I don't know, 12, 13 years. So it's not happened for them overnight. But now, you know, he's doing boxing fights, and you know, he's called people out, and everyone thought he was a joke. Everyone's going, "Oh, Jake Paul is a f***ing YouTuber, he's a f***ing idiot, he can't fight, blah, blah, blah." And in his documentary, he's going, "I want people to hate me," right? And then when he comes out, everyone's going, "F*** Jake Paul, Jake Paul." And he goes, "I thrive on this shit." He goes, "Because the more people that hate me, the more people watch me, because they want to see me get beaten up." And he's like knocking out UFC champions, right? So the geezer's obviously, he might be a YouTuber, but he can have it, right?
Yeah.
So all those people that, you know, and I think the reason why lots of people were anti-Jake Paul is just basically because they didn't like the fact that this guy could come into a sport. And look, boxing, I've always loved boxing, as I know you do, right? But boxing, you know, has got to the point now where a lot of the good fights aren't being made. A lot of back in the day, you know, everyone would fight everybody. That's not happening now. And it's slowly going like this, right? And what these YouTubers have done is they brought that sort of celebrity, the followings, we're having a fight. You know, you have Mayweather doing an exhibition fight. You've had Tyson doing an exhibition fight. The boxing purists say, "Oh, this is stupid. Why do we want to watch this?" But it's not about you. It's about bringing people into this. Because if you watch Jake Paul fight and knock somebody out who's a UFC champion, and then you get an interest in boxing, then when there's a Tyson Fury fight, or when there's the Deontay Wilder fight, or whoever, you know, you're tuning in.
Yeah, they've opened the market up to a new audience, basically.
Absolutely. So they should be being celebrated, right?
Well, I think they are. I think a lot of them are. I think, you know, again, it's just business, isn't it? Tell, it's just like, so I think the purists are always going to be anti anything that's change. Do you know what I mean? But it's, if you know, Mayweather brought that glory back to boxing, you know, and Tyson Fury brought the glory back to heavyweight boxing in particular. Did you know what I mean? Like the boxers do it themselves. There's a little bit of a lull, it seems, at the minute, because they're not fighting each other and stuff like that. But that's where, and whereas before there was a vacuum, if you like. That's where they're being very acutely smart, like business-wise. There's this vacuum here. Let's jump in it. Yeah. I'll fight Mayweather and I'll get, you know, 70 million or whatever. You know what the figures they are. Who knows?
I think
they're just very clever business.
One of his fights generated 60 million.
Wow.
You know, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? And not only is it good for the sport, it's good for the government, because obviously they get tax revenues.
Yeah, of course.
And it just means there's more eyeballs on it. So for me, I think what Jake Paul and Logan Paul have done is phenomenal. And I think that, you know, there's lots of people who, as I said, don't like him for whatever reason. But what he's done, which I love, is prove people wrong. And in life, you know, I remember, like, when I sold my club business and I said, "Oh, I'm going to have a go at the acting. Someone's put me in a movie." People would be like, "What do you know about acting?" And I said, "I don't know anything, but I'm going to fucking learn." But in life, I think too many people put you down. Too many people won't encourage you. Like you just said, if you want to have a go, have a go. And I just genuinely think anybody who's watching this that has ever thought, actually, I wouldn't mind being an actor, I wouldn't mind being an extra, I wouldn't mind writing a script, I wouldn't mind being a director, I wouldn't mind fucking running the world, right? Have a go.
No,
because you never know. Do you know what I mean? You never know.
Of course. Look, if you don't follow, if you don't have a dream, it's a boring life, isn't it? That's all it is.
Absolutely.
But some people like a boring life. But
You know, there's a line, isn't it? You either want to stand in the queue or you don't.
Yeah. I don't. You?
No, I don't.
We're both mavericks, bro.
We're maverick. We jump in the queue. We push in. Get out of the way.
So let's talk about the first Foot Soldier, right? So Rise of the Foot Soldier. Do you remember when you had the call saying read the script?
Yes.
And what was your initial? Because that script, we worked on that for a couple of years, and pretty much it didn't change. But I mean, be good to hear your thoughts as an actor getting that lands on your letterbox, and you think, oh,
yeah, I thought I might not get it first of all because I thought I might be a little bit small, right. Like because I'm a little bit smaller than the real Craig Rolfe, not in personality at all, but just in physically. Right. So I was a little bit worried. That was from a very selfish acting.
When you come to the audition, do you wear your Cuban heels or not?
Nah. Stilettos, I mean, right? But that was a personal thing. But I was like, this is very dark. And I sort of, you know, if you like, because of doing the Football Factory, there was quite a lot of films floating about that were of a similar ilk and similar sort of style. So I was looking to not maybe do something directly similar, and because the characters were not involved in the football hooligan side of the film and stuff like that, that was specifically for Colton's character. I was like, no, this is really interesting because these are about real people who are nasty, like that. You know, some of their exploits.
Ghastly people.
They were really, they're really dark. They were very, very. It was a very dark script, and I thought, this sounds bang on. And then all of a sudden, like people start getting attached to it, and you think, oh, do you know what I mean? Like there was Craig, and then do you know what I mean? And I think we had a meet. Was it in the Groucho or Soho House? We had a meet. I remember.
It was one of them, wasn't it?
It was very early doors, and I remember coming away thinking, you know, at the time I'd done some bits, thinking, who's this Julian? Because he's f***ing off his nut, this guy.
He was crazy.
He's like obsessed. He was like, he was Colton Leach, Foot Soldier, obsessed. Do you know what I mean? Knew everything. Like, and I was like, he would be amazing to work with. Do you know what I mean? And then the scale of it, it was like a f***ing epic thing. Do you know what I mean? Right. And I thought, this is going to be something. This is going to be another sort of.
Interesting. Because I remember like trying to get the money for it, and for 2 years. We went around asking people to invest. We raised a bit of money, and then we met obviously Carnaby, Mike, Andy, and Terry. And I remember literally having a meeting with them, and they went, "We'll fund the movie." I was like, "Okay," and I just thought, "This just doesn't happen. People, you don't just meet people and they write fucking check out for me, right?" and then literally. Right, we're shooting it here, these are the dates, blah, blah. And even though, sign the agreements, and even though, you know, I went into the production office and I could see that we were actually getting ready to make a film, I was still thinking, this is a fucking bloody in a minute, we're going to walk on set and they go, I'm not really, I'm only fucking about. Yeah. But like, when we had that first, I think until we actually finished, and I don't know if you remember when we wrapped that film, we were in fucking Epping Forest. Yeah. Covered in blubber and fucking masks on, right?
Yeah. 9 hours of it, you know what I mean?
for a week, right? And it was like -10 or something, wasn't it? And I remember, like, when it actually finished, I remember driving home, it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. I was driving home and I was thinking, wow, we've actually finished that film. And it actually feels like it's going to be, like you said, it feels like it's going to be something. Yeah. But till you actually see it, you just never know. But
I was confident. I thought and I don't know if it was because I'd been part of a couple of films that were similar.
You get a feeling, don't you?
Yeah, like you do now on the set, didn't you? Like if you know, like, don't get me wrong, you don't always get a feeling that things are going to be. So, you know, you quite often think, this is going to be fucking dog shit. Do you know what I mean? Look at these guys or whatever. Do you know what I mean? No, of course you do. Like we've been experienced, so we know what's shit and what's not. But I remember at the time thinking, this is big. The scale they're trying to make this on. And what they're trying to convey.
Well, they were trying to make a British Goodfellas.
Yeah,
I mean, people used to say to me, what was the pitch? And it was Football Factory meets Goodfellas. That was the pitch for that movie.
Oh, really? What a blinder.
Bit fucking, you know, it's a little bit ambitious.
Of course.
You've got, but
that's what you want on the poster, don't you? You know, British Goodfellas meets the football faction, and I, you know, and to fair play to Julian and Will, on with the first film, and you know, with Carnaby and you guys, like it's very much of its time. We watched it this year, funny enough, in March, and I was like, oh,
no, it was January. It was the because they remixed, remastered, and re-released it on the 16th anniversary.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Because it was
Because they've done a Foot Soldier computer game, which has got obviously Tony, Pat, and Craig going around smashing people up.
yeah.
with
No,
scaffold poles
I've
and
heard a
stuff.
lot about it. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard I'm on a computer game smashing things up. But,
But I always laugh because, you know, if you'd have said to me 16 years ago, there'd be a franchise with like 6 movies, the 6th film comes out in September, right? By the time people watch this podcast, it will be out in the cinemas, right? And the game got released, and the distributor, there was a company called Optimum Releasing that then became Studio Canal, because Studio Canal bought Optimum Releasing. So they ended up having the Foot Soldier IP for the first one, the rights to the first film, and then I think it's 15 years. Yeah, it must be 15 years. They obviously lose the rights, but then they can renegotiate.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I don't know the ins and outs of it, because obviously that was a Carnaby thing, but they then lost the rights, and then they've given them now to Signature, and Signature obviously now have all of all 6 films, right? And then, you know, to think it's gone from that to then there being merchandise, and now there's a computer game available worldwide on Apple and Google. It's mad. And you just sort of think, you know, who would have thought that? And, you know, I think it's quite cool when you think one of the characters you played in the movie is now in a computer game.
No,
it might not be Grand Theft Auto, but it's still cool,
no,
you know?
no, I think there's something really special about it. We're really honoured, and I think there's a reason I'll sort of allude to what I was saying, because it's based on some real people. It gives it something, like I was saying, it gives it like an anchorage, and the fact that we can, because ultimately it's got to be received,
Right.
and if they're not received well, they don't make another one.
Right.
Like this, they're sort of self-perpetuating. You know, I mean, it's like cyclical. Like if we make one and it doesn't do well, there ain't no more.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like if Craig's one comes out and smashes it, there's a good chance Craig can make another one. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the nature of the beast.
Right.
And I think what happens with these films, and because they're based in like on real characters, it's almost like you can believe it more. Like so we've done one we did the third one. Right. Remember the third one, which was sort of like, when you think now, it was sort of like it's somewhere in between, isn't it? Like of what we like, these sort of complete fictional stories and sort of set in real world, but with these real characters. Right. And that was the bridge. That was the bridge for us to get to the Marbella, and to get to us to Origins, where we sort of learned a little bit more about the personal lives of these characters. But they have to be good. They have to be entertaining. Otherwise, there's no more being made.
But
so
talking about the first one, what was your, you know, I mean, obviously, yeah, it's a long time ago, but we had some funny times on that. But if you actually think back, what was your moments that you remember?
On that particular film, there's a couple of bits that really do stick in my mind. There was one scene where we were in the hospital.
That was so funny.
And and there was blessed this actress. I don't even remember her name, but she was.
Her name was Emily.
Was her name Emily?
Right, and I think she was a glamour model.
Okay.
Right, but she wanted to be in a movie, so she come in, and I don't know if you remember, that was Neil Maskell's first day.
Yeah, and he was just like, "Who are you?" Like,
when he walked in on the rehearsal, I'm shaking the bed, going
sniffing off some birds.
and then you and Craig were like, "What?" We laughed at.
No, it was just
because
the whole scene, I'm sniffing.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those things. Julian was like, "Just keep sniffing. I'll get a little bit of it." And for the whole, I'm sniffing his powder. Like.
But just to be clear, right? We obviously don't take real cocaine when we make this film, right?
Not at all.
It's
all acting.
It's like a glucose powder.
It's a medicated substance.
Yeah,
it
it's like
evaporates.
After you've had about 10 lines of it, it is like having a 2 cans of Coke, isn't it? So you do start going, So I think we was all behaving badly, and I always remember Neil coming in, and he was like, what have I walked into? You know what I mean? And then every time Ricky Arnott walked in, we was like, it's Ross Kemp from Albert
He had
Force.
the leather jacket on, didn't he? No, it was, mate, the whole thing was just, but that in particular, that day.
That's funny.
I think there was a night because it was in Epping Forest, like you said, where we just couldn't get our lines.
No, do you know something? They've actually put it on YouTube, right?
Oh, shut up.
If you go on YouTube, right,
No,
Rise of the Foot Soldier outtakes, there's a thing where we're sitting there, and I don't know if somebody farted or something.
Billy fucking Murray,
and then
wasn't it? Or
it's like, oh, you dirty. And then I think I sort of burped, and I was like, "Bleh." I started laughing, and then we kept trying to do, and it was something like, Mickey, what time of the and it was like, Mickey, and then you start laughing. You're going, look, just stop making me laugh. I'm going, what? You're making me laugh. And then Billy keeps going, Terry's up. It went on for about 20 minutes, and we were like fucking crying. We're
I don't know how
laughing.
we got through it. Because it's such a serious part of the film as well. Like it's not like it's a funny part of the film. Like if you watch the film, you go and realise we were struggling like badly. But that was funny. But yeah, it was experience. Like I remember we had a scene in a limousine with
That was so funny,
strippers. Like I literally felt like dirty after. I was like, and I was only acting. I did nothing wrong
No,
whatsoever.
but you know what was funny? I remember that because obviously when you go out to like proper actresses and say, oh, we need you to be in a film, but you've got to be naked and you've got to have people sniffing off your tits and, you got to kiss people. And most serious actresses are like, it's not really for me.
Of course, I get it.
Which you understand, right? And the only girls that are kind of up for that are either lap dancers or glamour models or people that are that work in the sex industry, right? So I think when you look at that, they're up for a laugh, right? And they don't mind doing it because it's fun, right? Whereas the serious actress will be like, I'm not doing that because it's degrading.
No, of course.
But I remember that limousine. Those girls were, I don't know where I think my mates they were from Spearmint Rhino or whatever. And I don't know if you remember, but they were like full on. And they were like, do whatever you want. And we're like, look, we're acting, right? We're not going to, do anything inappropriate.
That's what I was going to, like, it's really important to say as well. It's like, where their background, I guess, make them a little bit more liberal in terms of us acting.
I mean, we would have proved that day, right?
No,
we would have proved.
Mate, that was the nuttiest. I don't think I've ever been in sort of a more debauched sort of scenario.
In an enclosed space with two strippers, yeah.
Like, just like, oh my God, like I've come out, like, I remember having a conversation going, tell her, I'm a weak man.
No, you said,
I'm a weak
I think
man
you
or
said to
something.
me, I think you,
something like
I think
that.
you rang me up and said, Terry, my M's ain't going to like that. And I said, well, my wife, Maxine, ain't going to like that. You know what I mean? I don't think any of their wives would be sitting at the premiere going, oh, look, there's their guys in a limousine with some naked strippers. Oh, it's great. It's only acting, yeah. Do you know what I mean?
No, but it's really important. One, it is acting, and we are actors. And no,
was you acting that day? I wasn't.
No, I was. But it's also and this is why it's important, because it's representative of the type of scenarios and lives that these people.
That happened.
It's sort of good. Not that they're the same, obviously. But you watch The Wolf on Wall Street, and it's that, and you think.
These are stockbrokers, right?
Yeah, and they're off their nut, but it's representative of what they was doing, and I think so. And the lines are blurred, obviously, because we're actors and we've got partners and we've got to be and we're staunch men.
But also, in Wolf of Wall Street, they were like, I don't know if you remember, they were throwing dwarfs up the thing. Obviously, we haven't done that in Rise of the Foot Soldier, so. In Rise of the Foot Soldier, we do have like levels, of respect. You know what I mean? So
no dwarfism. I did that in my Big Fat Gypsy Gangster.
What was that?
The film I made.
Right.
It's a lovely film. We had Maxwell, who was I don't know if dwarf's the right terminology. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what is it a small person? So forgive me, but we had Maxwell, who's an actor and who's a diminutive actor. Right. If I'm being offensive, I don't mean. But it was brilliant. He was brilliant. He rolled joints about that big. The geezer was like 4 foot. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's brilliant. But we did throw him about exactly like in The Wolf of Wall Street. And there was 2 midgets fighting. So if you haven't seen it, it's a brilliant film called My Big Fat Gypsy Gangster. Yes.
Do you actually see him rolling the spliff as well?
No, he personally
behind the scenes.
that was behind the scenes. Like like enormous they were. But no, so I have thrown a dwarf actually.
Right,
but,
okay, you've actually done that.
yeah,
firsthand.
yeah. So
What was it like? Was it?
Brilliant? It was brilliant.
Right.
Wonder Factor, really, like blindness, so funny.
I mean, I saw, and this is crazy, right? And this was last year at Christmas. There was a play at the Wimbledon Theatre,
Yeah.
and it was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, right? And I went there with my wife and my children, right? And it was like the opening night, and I was watching it, and when the dwarfs come on stage, they weren't actually dwarfs. They were like able-bodied people that come out, but he's like funny legs, and they're doing it on the stage. And I was watching it, and I was going, this like doesn't feel right to me. Do you know what I mean? It sort of was a bit like offensive, and I was like, why the fuck are they doing that, right? And I just thought, surely this has got to be anti-dwarf, right?
The top gig for a
Right,
small person,
right.
isn't he?
But I just watched it and I thought, this is really bad, right? And then I said to my wife, I said, why haven't they got dwarfs playing dwarfs? Why have they got able-bodied men kneeling down with fake legs doing this dwarf thing, right? And she went, I have no clue, so it's really weird. And then I went home and I Googled it on the computer because I just thought, I've got to find out what this is all about. And it was something to do with saving money on the theatre because the dwarfs wanted more money than the other people. And you're just thinking, how does that even work? I mean, it's just crazy, right? It's just crazy. Go on Google and look at
It's a
it
business.
because it's the maddest fucking thing ever. And you think, you know, and I actually sort of, if you look at, Warwick Davis as an actor, right? Obviously, he's been in all these like Star Wars films, but he does comedy. But if you a dwarf or it just goes to show it doesn't matter, right? You can still act, you can still be a performer, you can still do stuff. But I just thought that was crazy, and I did actually think people now seem to get upset and they're protesting about everything, they're offended about everything. But you didn't really see much about that, and I thought that would have caused outrage. But
No, it should. Well, it's ironic, isn't it, that there isn't a big sort of outcry about making sure.
But apparently, because I asked a few other people, they said, I went to see something in the West End, and it was the same thing. So it's just a thing now. I don't know, but I didn't.
It's about money.
I didn't get it.
It's about
I didn't get it. For me, if I'm putting on that show, and you need a dwarf, or you need a 7 foot tall person, or a 5 foot tall person, it wouldn't make any difference to me. I'd be just like, well, if that's how much money they want, and we need that person for that role,
Yeah.
we just pay it because that's it's just how you do it.
It's
Do you know
like
what I mean?
the separate dwarfs.
Do you know what I mean? So what? And the able-bodied men that are playing dwarfs, and it's just like, well, that doesn't make any sense to me.
That's a belter.
It's crazy,
Belt,
right?
really.
But go on, look, honestly, Google it, and you'll be shocked. You will be shocked. You'll be looking at it going, I don't get this. It's just crazy. But going back to Foot Soldier 1, so was there anything else that you saw that you remember from that, or because obviously I want to talk about the Pat Tate story, because that's when obviously we got back together, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it was sort of like 10 years later or 9 years later.
Well, it was 10 because we had a dinner, didn't we? We marked a dinner. We had a bit of dinner in the Gaffer in Leicester Square, around the corner from the office. And there was talk of it. And I was like, oh, yeah, all right. Do you know what I mean? Like, but then it materialised. I was like, yeah. And but so the third one for me that's probably the least I'm in all of them.
Right.
So
So
like-
for both of us. That was,
So it was a little bit, obviously the Pat Tate story, and I think there was, and I guess there's also a real business side to it as well. Like Craig's smashing it, and he's much more high profile than the pair of us combined. So you can really see where he's the draw, he's the attraction. So, but from the success of it, we then did Marbella, which we went on and probably sort of nicked it. Do you know what I mean? Like we sort of had a great time on that.
I think what I find interesting about that is, when you talk to people, and obviously you talk to lots of people, because everywhere you go, people come and tell you, I love that film, I love your... But everybody always... And it's weird, right? Because people, they've got their favourite character, right? But everybody loves that Tony and Craig dynamic. Like everybody, like loads of people always go at me, when you two, when we just start laughing, even if you're not even doing anything funny, it's just funny seeing you two there doing your... It's a bit Laurel and Hardy-esque, you know what I mean?
Oh, I think so. I think we found that energy with it. I think there was...
I'm trying to think in the Pat Tate story, there was some funny stuff that happened, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Marbella,
we had cheesy. That was.
Do you know something? That was it. Do you know what? I couldn't remember which one it was.
It was in the back of the motor. We did some because we were doing them, weren't we? We were doing these things. You were very keen to get things on the social media, wouldn't you? And things like that. And we put something out there, and I'm not very like.
So that's the question I got for you, Ro. Actually,
it was like massively like you said something like thousands of people watched it, and I was like, no, I didn't even understand how it worked.
But so that was it. So for all of you people watching and listening to this podcast, there was a video that went viral, 5 or 6 million views, right? And it was, I wish I'd have, if I'd have had the savvy that I've got now, I'd have put it on my YouTube channel, yeah? But I just posted it for a laugh because I didn't really, I wasn't thinking about monetizing it. I just thought I would just push it out. But we were just in the Range Rover, in between takes, and then we put on that, Baby Let Me Love You for Night, and we just started singing, cheese your cat, cheese your cat, cheese your cat. And we're all like laughing and fucking about, and then Craig had the fake.
Yeah, we did all the fake. Yeah.
And
rattling the chair.
And that went viral. But the thing is, that actually was one of the funny things, and that was literally done off the cuff. Natural. There was no script. There was no planning. It was like, let's just film these boys a bit of laugh, put the music on, boom, done it, and that went viral. And that shows you, just by just coming up with some crazy idea. Again, we was only in it. For probably a quarter of the movie, maybe, but again, it was good fun, and lots of people. I think that was actually, I do remember, that was when you met Emma Butt.
Oh, no, was that one? Was it? Jesus Christ! Because she was in the later one. Actually, yes, I do.
Right.
Shit, so carpets the size of my fucking head like that. Unbelievable.
So I've got to share this story because it's so funny. So.
I know what you're going to say.
That's so funny. So they can't get any actresses to play this part, and Pat comes out of jail. If you've seen Rise of the Foot Soldiers, Pat Tate story, number 3, you'll remember this scene, right? And basically, we go out clubbing, we're all f***ing about. There's a bird, obviously knocking me off. There's a bird doing something with Craig, and there's this, that, and the other, and there's a girl with you, and you were sniffing off her fanny, and this, that, and the other. And obviously, no actress would do it, and the guys were saying, look, really struggling to find someone. I said, well, funny enough, there's this girl who keeps messaging me on Twitter who's a porn star, and she's desperate to be in a foot soldier movie. She loves foot soldier. And I said, let me message her. So I messaged her and said, Emma, I know you asked me if you could be in foot soldier. I said, well, there's an opportunity. I said, have you got your email? And I'll send you an email and you can tell us if you want to do it. So I sent the email. I said, dear Emma, I'll get straight to the point. Bear in mind,
I'd like to see this email.
I'm copying the director and the producers in, right? And I'm like, the role is you naked, and one of the actors has got to, basically line up some fake in your fanny and sniff it, and you might have to kiss him, whatever. Are you up for it? And she come back, yeah, if you want me to suck him off, I'll do it. But she was joking, right? And the producer, the director come and they went, what the f***? Where'd you find these people? I said, genuinely, she just messaged me on Twitter and said, I'm really desperate to be in one of it. If there's any parts, let me know. So I said, we've got the girl, right? So she rings me up the day before. And she goes, oh, Terry, I've never done this before. I shouldn't be nervous because I've done all these films, but I'm really nervous. And I said, look, just do it and play yourself. I said, it'll be fun. She said, do you want to bring anything? I said, have you got any, big dildos? She went, yeah, I have. And I said, what, a big strap-on one? And she went, yeah. I said, can you do me a favour? Can you bring it? She went, yeah, sure. Right, so we get on the set. And I said, so what I want you to do is put this dildo on, and I want you to stand behind Roland, right? So we're rehearsing the scene, and we're running the lines. And she's literally just stood literally on his shoulder, and there's this big thing, like almost like a microphone, right? And I said, hang on a minute. I said, okay, it's a really good idea, right? I said, the girl when you're like sniffing off of her fanny? I said, we're not really going to be able to do a close up on the funny, but like it'd be funny if she had a big strap on and you sniffed it off the strap on. And he goes, I think that's the fucking worst idea I've ever heard.
yeah, absolutely.
And I said, look, let's just do it. She's here, right? And he told me, get away from me. And she's like running around the set, chasing him. And he goes, what the f*** She goes, Terry, he goes, get away from me. I don't know where it's been. And then later on, obviously we didn't go with my idea, right?
Yeah, thankfully.
But later on, it was really funny because she took it off and put it on the side, and one of the sound men thought it'd be funny to put it on the mic and then brought it to me. He was like, I'm going to do something. But honestly, that just shows you like the banter that we'd have on set. I mean, it was just silly, but it was funny.
You do need that sort of liberal approach to sort of making these films, because these like I was saying, they are real people and they lived like fucked up lives, really strange lives, got into like crazy situations. It's not the norm. Do you know what I mean? So it's like there's always a risk when you show these people's lives that people just think it's voyeuristic, or people just think they're misogynistic, or they're just horrible, evil, which they were criminals, but they did have families. Do you know what I mean? They were real people. So and they're just flawed, sadly. Do you know what I mean? And full of I'm sure trauma as well. These poor. Do you know what I mean? So.
And let's go on to Rise of the Foot Soldier Marbella, because that was like, and it's funny because lots of people say to me, "What is your favourite foot soldier film?" And I said, "You know what? The first one, because that was my third film as an actor and as a producer, and it was just special. Do you know what I mean? It was just such a great thing to be part of, and to see the love, like you, when you did Football Factory and people come up to you and go, "Now, I love that fucking film," blah blah blah. You think, "Wow, I actually come up with this and been in this." So it's like you get patted on the back, and I think that shows you that you're obviously doing something right. And then obviously the Pat Tate story again was fun, and I enjoyed doing it. But like you said, we were just in and out of that one. And for me, that was just like a job for the boys. It wasn't, there was funny moments on it, and I had a great time. But if you said to me what my favourite foot soldier films, I would probably say, 1, 4, and 5. And it'd be difficult for me to put them in any order because they're all so different. And I think the Foot Soldier Marbella, which obviously I want to talk about now, that was the funniest thing and like the maddest thing I've ever done in my life. Yeah. And
but it was though, wasn't it? It was just like chaos. It was like a road trip for gangsters, you know what I mean? Like and sort of documenting it, like I think just when we were in that fucking van smoking the crack pipe with old what's his name?
So did we do the pills and the cheese with the cheese? Was that in Foot Soldier 3 or was that in?
That's Foot Soldier 3.
Right, okay. So that was the other funny bit. Sorry, I missed that out. The Foot Soldier 3 when we was in that calf and you yes it because you was in the calf and you'd taken the pill, didn't you?
Do you know
and
what?
You were coming up with the pill and you're in the calf and you're going.
Yes, sorry, I've taken so many pills in these films. I've got to put this pill situation in the scene within the film as part of the franchise. So yes, possibly I took some pills.
It was so funny. It was honestly that was the funniest thing. And then when there was that little like mouse with a cheese, and that was and I was
of course.
That sounds so funny. Yeah? Cheese, and it was
mate, they're
like
the
shit and the thing is, like I don't even know what that was doing on the table, but I see it and picked it up, and I was like, this is funny, right? And we all just went along with it, and you just sort of think like, where does it come from? Do you know what I mean? It's just...
Well, I think one, it comes from us just getting there and just wanting to terrorise everyone and like annoy people. Do you know what I mean? And like if someone's put something there, let's just move it just to fucking annoy them and let's cause havoc. And I think there's a little mischief in our performance. And funny enough, I think when we came back to do that one, if you like, the Marlborough, we both knew what we were bringing to it. Right. So like you said, we'd done the third one and we were like, all right, we were on the peripheral edge on that one, but this is much more about like you need us in this one. Right. Do you know what I mean? And we delivered on that one. It was we were very much the comedy of and sort of the lighter side of entertainment.
But you know something, that film, for whatever reason. We did it in 2019. Sorry, we did it in 2018. But 2019 was when it came out. And obviously then lockdown happened. And that became the movie of lockdown. Like every single person I know, for whatever reason, watched that Foot Soldier Marbella and they said, you're so, like, so funny. Like, we're crying. And
Of course, we was in Amsterdam. Remember Amsterdam? We went to Amsterdam for a couple of days, and it was like the nuttiest thing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Jess Wright from Only Ways Essex.
yeah, that's right. No.
And her mum.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny, wasn't
It's like the nuttiest thing. Like we was in that beautiful hotel, and like it was just like
it? Rita Ora was there as
yeah,
well.
Rita Ora. I was in the lift with Rita Ora. I was like, hell. But no, I thought it was brilliant. I think that, you know, there's a scene in that where we're both doing the brass.
Oh, that was
And
in
I'm
Red
like,
Light District.
yeah, in the red light district, and I'm sort of like, I'm looking up with you, like, I can't look at you, and you're sort of smashing her, and I was like, oh my god, like, and then I'm thinking like, what am I doing? This such, you know, like the shame I bring. But just that having the time of our lives, it was so great.
It was good. It was good.
And then going, you know, what was the geezer who was with us who played?
Iffy Klaus.
Iffy Klaus, like all of that, mate. You know, in the van, and we were puffing the crack, and we even, you know, we had I had the
ice cream was funny,
I had
wasn't
the
it?
brace, didn't I? And I had the mask on, and just the whole thing was just like the concept was so.
Well,
so
it's like when we
hilarious.
was in the Repton boxing club in East London.
Yeah.
O'Connor Ben, and then you come in and you went, oh, you ain't look all that tone. And then it's like, why don't you come in and find out?
Funny enough, that for me on that film, fighting Conor Benn probably one of the highlights of me because he's such a phenomenal boxer. I love Conor Benn.
And I hope you saw the ode to Rocky when you went ding ding.
Yeah, that's right. That's a little Apollo Creole. But that was brilliant. But to get in the ring and sort of, and it was, I remember saying something like we were sort of orchestrating, you know, the choreographing it. And he was like, mate, you ain't going to hit me. And I was just like, and I fucking tried to hit him as well. And he was just so elegant and slick and beautiful with his moves. Yeah. And do you know what I mean? I was like, what a lovely memory to have as an actor, to get in the ring with a professional boxer.
I think that film, again, you know, we spent a lot of time in Marbella, didn't we? And that was fun. We had a great time. I mean, we had some nice meals, didn't we?
Mate, I think I think on that one, I think we made the third one. It was like this coming together after such a long period of time, and we sort of, I don't know, you know, you go away and you know, like we have a nice relationship, Tel, where we don't need to see each other, but we get together and we'll have a laugh. And, you know what I mean? And there's no sort of. I
genuinely think if you have a genuine friendship with someone, you don't need to ring them fucking daily. You don't need to see them weekly. You don't need to be in their fucking house. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, but when you're together, you're together. You know what I mean?
Genuine. That's right.
Absolutely.
There's a genuine
and you either click with people or you don't.
But I think on that fault, I think we both come into it knowing the opportunity as well. Right. Like, so the third one, we I don't know. Like for me, I was like, I was just like, I can't believe it's happening. To be honest, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, it's really happening. A bit like you with the first one, like it's fucking happening. And then on the fourth one, I was like, no, because it was like you and Andy. And fair play to the pair of you, actually, are phenomenal producers. And when you say something's going to happen, it always happens. Right. And, you know, we've been talking, there's so many fucking fan pots and people that just love to say we're making films and take Bod's money and knock Bod's left, right and centre.
Not pay, yeah.
And very sadly, it's a game that's full of that sort of... really, excuse my language.
Well, to be honest, you know,
but you and Andy, funny enough, is when you know, and another film that's nothing to do with our franchise was Once Upon a Time in London, which was something that was your own project.
So I don't know if you remember this, but I'm sure you do. The beautiful thing that year, 2018, was we made Rise of the Foot Soldier Marbella, and we made Once Upon a Time in London. So originally when we was doing Once Upon a Time in London with George McKay playing Billy Hill, and we had Eddie Marzan playing Jack Spot, and we pulled together, started putting everything together. When we finally got the money and we were ready to go, we reached out and Eddie Marzan was doing Ray Donovan, so we said, I can't do it for 6 months. I was like, for fuck's sake. And George had gone on to do 1917. So they both weren't available. So I was like, for sake, you know, we lost our two main actors. And you can't, and the problem is in this game, if you go, well, we'll wait 6 months, in 6 months, he's got something else, he's not available, then we lose someone else. So we just had to go. And I remember, like, when we were casting it, someone said, like, Leo Gregory would be good for Billy Hill. So I spoke to Leo and he was like, yeah, you know, I'd love to do that. I spoke to Craig was going to be in it. Got Jamie in it, literally started casting it all. And then I was looking at Mad Frankie Fraser and I actually thought Roland would be perfect for that. And you, I think when they did that hair thing, you did look like it.
No, I was.
I mean, an absolute ringer, you know. So what was your thoughts on that? Because I mean,
I love playing Frankie Fraser. Like, you know,
that scene in the prison was.
The fight I had.
Because you got hit.
Yeah, I did get it. I was a bit of a prima donna because I was like, "You got to fucking hit me!" And
He rang me up going, "Them cunts fucking hit me, take liberties."
well, we took like 13 takes to be fair, and to hit me once, I got away lightly to be fair. But what a scene that was! A big, you know, choreographed fight scene, and that was great. That was period London filmmaking on a really lovely way. You know, it wasn't because we were removed from the realities of our normal lives, like because everything obviously was period, the clobber, like production, everything was like mustard. And to play Frankie Fraser as well, which is like, you know, if you're out of South London,
Right, he's the man, wasn't he?
like, yeah, do you know what I mean? And out of Wharf Road, and you know, like I don't know, I've sort of had this thing where throughout my sort of even like very humble career, I've played real characters. Like, so a lot of the characters I've played have actually were real people, and that's been a familiar pattern for me. And it's not the first time, so I sort of approached it with that, and you know, and sort of I have a very sort of simple rule now, whereas I just don't engage with the people or their family or anything like that. Like I keep it completely sort of neutral from that respect. But out of all of them, I was always a little bit like, I'm playing Frankie Fraser here. I don't want to upset anybody. Do you know what I mean? Because he was a legend in South London. Do you know what I mean? Like, and a feared man. Do you know what I mean? There are a few people, you know, like, and he was one. Even as a kid, growing up, and I was on Bermondsey, so it's Wharf Road's the other side, but you knew about it. You knew about this man. Do you know what I mean? So,
I mean, really, you know, if you look at Football Factory, Foot Soldier, Once Upon a Time in London, I mean, they're iconic characters, aren't they? You know, of real life people. That you know, I mean, Zebedee was based upon somebody, wasn't it?
So Zebedee is not part of the original book by John King. So he's a character brought in to add plot development. So he was never part of the original book. So and I think he's. Whether he was based on someone that Nick knew personally, like just fucking complete potass. Yeah. But that was very much an interpretation brought into that film that wasn't part of the original book or anything.
So Once Upon a Time in London, what can you remember about that? Or what stories can you remember about that? I mean, obviously there was a prison thing.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I think that was really nice for me to go and do that film because we'd just done the film together prior to it, and it's so different. And it was to play this.
My bad, we were playing Lunatics, weren't we?
Well, I'm playing another lunatic, so there's another pattern emerging.
The drugs, yeah.
But yeah, just without the drugs, just like real lunatic. You know what I mean? Not fueled by cocaine or anything. Right. But no, yeah, there was a. I felt a bit of pressure playing Frankie Fraser, which I didn't really feel, because he was really important in that film to convey his relationship between the two protagonists of the film, because he was peacekeeper between them. Do you know what I mean? So, but I felt a bit of pressure, and it was slightly more serious actually than the Search for. I think everyone there was a bit more serious, and maybe that's the style of film because it was.
Well, it was serious, wasn't it? I mean, it was I mean, there wasn't much. There was a bit of laughter, but there wasn't that much. It was
it was quite. You know, like I think.
I mean, with that film, you know, you really needed like £10 million to make that properly. You know?
Yeah.
But you know, I think what we did with the money was amazing, and I think with all these films, you know, all you can do as a producer, as a director, as a filmmaker, is make the best film you can with the money you've got.
That's right.
And
100%.
And look, you if you knew which ones were going to be a success, you'd only make the successful ones.
No, 100%. I think we are in, and well, certainly when you're making independent films, you mustn't sort of just put yourself in the categories of the epic Marvel films. You're an idiot if you do. Yeah. And I think you're 100% right. You can only do what you've got at your disposal, and you must do the best you can at it. But that's the challenge, because the point is like, if you do pull it off and you make something that's like bang on, you really have done something You're like, it's beyond what you've done. It's like, it's merit. It's completely merit based. Do you know what I mean? Because Tell, it's so difficult anyway. You can put all of these fucking top stars in the film, have the best script writers, have the best.
Different.
Mate, if no one watches it or someone thinks it's shit, then it's like, what do you do?
Look, there's films that are being made for 100 million, 150 million, 200 million that flop. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, you know, you can do things to safeguard against it. You can get the stars, you can get the writers, you can get the director, but there are no guarantees. And I think that's when you look at independent filmmaking, you know, everybody always wants to make the Blair Witch Project or Football Factory or, you know, whatever. Do you know what I mean? But I think the reality is, you know, everybody tries. But I think the difficulty is, you know, if I developed a script today, it might take 2 or 3 years minimum for it to actually get ready.
Yeah, come to fruition, yeah.
Things happening, get the money, then get it in production. You've got another year before it comes out. A lot of things can change in 4 years. And obviously, you know, the market changes. Like, you know, it's like that. And with all this sort of woke stuff that's going on now, you know, you could do something today which is funny and is fine, and then in a few years' time, it's offensive. And then that film, people are just going to go, well, we don't want to put that on because that's in it. So it's like you've got to have a crystal ball to know what to make, when to make it, and what to put in, what not to put in. So it's challenging.
That's why I think, we must continue to support British independent films.
Absolutely.
Like, it's really, really important.
Thanks to all the investors out there that have supported our films.
Thank you very much. It's really important. And secondly, that's part of the challenge. Like if we could just be given the golden bar, then there wouldn't be this like ambition. There wouldn't be this determination. There wouldn't be this sort of like just energy to make something like brilliant or as best as you can. But that's the challenge of it.
Yeah.
Like that is the challenge. Like if you're making a film, for example, for a couple of $100,000 or something, which is a pretty low budget film, like you mustn't think you can make a Marvel film. Like, and if you do, you're an idiot. Do you know what I mean? But if you make a good film, a coherent film, good performances, good production value for $300,000, and go on and sell it as well, because that's the other part of it.
Selling it.
Then you've done blinding.
Yeah.
Like that's a massive achievement.
Yeah.
Because there's films that have been made for 400-500 million quid, or maybe not, but a few quid, much more than that are on the shelf because they can't get sold. That they can't get it. You know? Do you know what I mean?
That's the harsh reality. You know, there's no guarantee you are going to sell it unless you sell it up front, and there's no guarantee when it's released anyone's going to watch it, and that makes the business, it is high risk. And the thing is, I think I've always been one of these people that I enjoy creating stuff. Right? And I think Once Upon a Time in London and Rise of the Foot Soldier, Marbella, those were two great films that I was in as an actor. And I was an exec producer on the Foot Soldier, Marbella, and obviously, you know, Andy sort of did all the work on that. He directed it, he wrote it, and raised all the money for it. So I was only really just, you know, I was more in that as an actor. But Once Upon a Time in London, I developed it, produced it, was in it, and you know, that year in 2019, two amazing films like that coming out. I was like, this is fantastic, this is great. Things are really going for me now. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously COVID come, and I was like, and it was like, and you know, when Origins come about, it was weird because I was thinking, we're making this film, but we don't even know if there's any cinemas going to be open. I mean, are people just going to watch it at home? Is it going to be an industry?
But that was
what the fuck's going to happen? You
but
know?
I think the added COVID sort of drama that was introduced when we made Origins made that film what it was. I think that give it something well, you know, like, so rather than it just being a subsequent film off the tail end of the films that have been successful, it's got that baggage anyway because we wouldn't make it. So it's got that anyway. But the difference was we made it in the middle of COVID and no one had been working for about 18 months.
So everyone was gagging.
Do you remember? Everyone was buzzing to be on those sets. Every day it was a joy. Every day everyone was happy. Yeah. We all locked away together. Do you know what I mean?
It was a laugh, wasn't it, in that hotel?
In the hotel, it was like 40 towers, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Like, it was like colossal. Like, but and I think, you know, we had the injection of Nick Nevin coming in and giving us a new energy for the film, because, you know, we've got to remember, like, we've played these parts for years now. We don't want to be told what to be done or how to say it. So it takes someone who's quite skillful to come in and rejuvenate those sort of characters for us and sort of give us a little bit of like something about them. And I think that was maybe that's why that film resonates. Like, so for me, out of all of the films, I think Origins is the best film.
Wow.
Like,
that's because me and you were the first and second.
Sweet. but the reason I say that is not because the first one, like for me now, the first one, when we watched it some 10 years later, it's a little bit, it really does feel a little bit dated.
Well, also it's two films, isn't it? Really, it's and that was
that was the next part I was going to say. Like now, with the benefit of sort of 17 years, the two plots or main plot lines in that are a bit more evident. As in two separate films, it could have been made as two separate films than they were at the time for me. I didn't really, if that makes sense. It's only on reflection now I think, oh, actually, it could have been a bit more of a cohesion between the two stories. They're slightly separate, but all of those factors I was saying about COVID and coming into this and going into that film under those circumstances, away from everyone, having to be in a bubble, being tested, and it was all like all
stuck up your nose every week.
But it was like I think it really added to the flavour of that film, and again with having it, and then Andy's rejuvenation of the franchise, like the whole thing. It was buzzing. That film for that 6 weeks or whatever it was like a buzz, wasn't it? The whole time it was, and it was sad to finish that one. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I always find it sad, like when you've been on set and it's like, especially if you like who you're working with, you're with your mates, you're having fun. And I remember coming off that set and I was like flying, right? And I remember getting home and obviously everything was fucking locked down. So I literally got indoors and I was like, right, how you doing? Blah, blah. And everyone just sat like that. And I'm like, I'm home, hello. Right? Oh, what we doing tonight? Takeaway? Netflix? That was it. You either cook something obviously it was like November, so we weren't having a barbecue, right? So it was like, I'll either cook something or we can get a takeaway. So I was like, oh, we'll get a takeaway. But it was surreal because I've gone from being with 100 people having a fucking laugh, having a real fucking laugh every day. It didn't feel like COVID was even going on.
No, not for us, right? It didn't. And
then you come home and it's just like, you're back to fucking reality.
But not even come home, just fucking on the roads. There was nothing on the roads. Everywhere was empty. Every gaff was shut. Do you remember? Like
28 days later, wasn't it?
Like 28 it was, wasn't it? In Southend as well. Like, and that's, like out of season is quite empty anyway. Do you know what I mean? And then add COVID to it, it was like a ghost town. But
I remember when I got to Southend, because I was like thinking I want to be in shape for this. I was going to the gym a lot, and there's a David Lloyd in Southend, so I was literally I'm in there training, and they were like, "Oh, we're shutting it tomorrow." I was like, "What do you mean?" They said, "Oh, we've been told we've got to shut it." And I was like, "Fuck's sake!" So I spent my life. Do you remember where the hotel was?
Yeah.
7 in Southend. I spent my life running up and down them
steps.
I
remember the fact. Yeah, of course. That was a way to sober up in the morning, wasn't it, basically? Go and do a couple of stairs.
Smell the sea.
Yeah, or the estuary. I like
it. But what was talking about Foot Soldier Origins, obviously, look, if you was to put them in order, would you go Foot Soldier Origins, Marbella, then the original?
Yeah, for me personally, just, and I don't know, because like the first one, I'm influential in it. Like you, we're one of the main people in it, even though there's two sort of storylines, but one of them's about us and one of them's about them. Yeah. And in the first one, more so about us than until the Origins, really. Right. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, you think you had your own storyline, and I think the humour that was later found in the subsequent films, sort of further on in the franchise, I think are born out of us from the first one, because even that was not supposed to be funny, the first one. Like the stuff with our stuff's blinding, the relationship, the bit where you kick me out the window and like Bods are on the floor laughing, they love it. But
have you not seen, there's a meme going around where it says something about you forgot to put the turkey or put the chicken in the oven or something, and there's me running upstairs going, "You mother's..."
Oh really? I don't know.
And this is when your mum, obviously because I've got that silly wig on, I look like someone's mum, yeah. But there's some great, literally the memes on Foot Soldier. There's so many.
Well, I'm not. You know.
Anyway, why aren't you on social media? It's just because it's just not for you.
I'm like to have some privacy in my life, mate. That's all it is. I'm like, my children have social media, my partner has social media. Like, I tried it for a little bit. I did try it for a little bit. I was a little bit sort of, you know, there was, I don't know. I'm sure you get it, but I had a load of people drive me mad, basically. Do you know what I mean? People that I don't want to speak to for 20 years, all of a sudden could speak to me. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, what the fuck? I was happy before. So, you know what I mean? Like, all the people I want to avoid, I can avoid. But no, there is. Right. But you know, there's nothing sort of cynical about it, or nothing
it's
sort
of.
It's just not for me. That's all. I don't. For me personally, it won't make my life richer.
Right. With the Origins thing, what do you think? What were your sort of standout moments for you in that, and funny stories behind the scenes? Because obviously, people that are watching this are obviously interested in, you know, what we got to talk about, and obviously your career. So it'd be good to sort of get some funny stories and behind the scenes stuff.
I think it was great to work with Josh on this one, and Bronson.
Yeah, Bronson Webb was
brilliant. Like when we smashed Bronson up in the car that day and kicked his face in.
Him over,
like that was a brilliant day of working and sort of that, and you know, being on the estate, the crack estate with all the crackheads and that at 8 in the morning, and you know, like they're all sort of lovely stories that were very funny. But you know, on that particular,
the calf was good though, wasn't it?
Yeah. When I had all the sandwich and that. Yeah.
Sure. What was funny was when we actually went in. I kept saying, "Oh yeah, give him some more. We got to do about 8 of these takes," and you were like, and it was fucking horrible.
Oh mate, I didn't stop farting for fucking days after, just eggy farts. I had about 900 scrambled eggs or whatever it was. But no, you know, I think the day we tied up Adam, which was brilliant in the house.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it? That was the home invasion, wasn't it?
Yeah, that you know, like you know, there was so much in that. We had so much to do on that, but funny enough, on that particular one, if I was to reflect on it, I think actually just having much more time with you, I think we really bonded on that film. Like,
absolutely. I mean, it was
but
great.
what I mean is we were really listening to each other. We were really sort of supportive of one another for all of this. We had a lot to do, me and you. Do you know what I mean? And like, so, and when we laughed and we needed that energy, we were. And then when we had to bring it in, and sort of,
it was on us.
Yeah, it was on us. It was fucking on us. And you know, like, you know, I think that the day we had we was in the club and we had Vinny there, and that was a great day, do you know what I mean? And I smashed Josh Rich around the head with a bottle, and that was like 9 takes or something like that. Bless him, you know what I mean? He probably wished he never had that part after. But no, that whole experience actually was really fun, and working with Nick on that one as well. I thought he really sort of re-energized the franchise for us and made us all excited about it.
I didn't really know. I know Nick directed, but I hadn't worked with him, so I didn't know what he was like. But actually working on that film, I did actually think some actors don't like somebody like on them, telling them like, do this, do that, think about this, think about that. But I actually enjoy it because I find that he knows what he wants. So if he says before the scene, look, you know, I want you to think about this and I want you to do this, and this is why you know, so you're already sort of there,
of course,
and then you give him what he wants rather than doing your thing, and then he goes, "Oh, can you try it this way?" And then you do it.
Yeah, and being polite about it. Now, of course, but you know,
and some people don't like being told. They find it like a little bit like he's like, but I actually enjoyed it.
But I think all actors take to direction differently, and the thing I liked about Nick is he directed everyone differently. Do you know what I mean? Like, so. When he was very different with Vinny, for example, than he was with else, because obviously, you know, like Vinny, the film was made because of Vinny. Do you know what I mean? He was certainly the big player in it. So, and I know he had to be a certain way with Vinny, and sort of later on, and when he was with us, and he was directing you, and he's directing me, and difficult to direct us because we played those characters before. I found Nick being able to direct us like Julian did at the beginning. And then when we did 3 and 4, we were pretty much like, nah, we've played these parts. You know, like, you're going to have to come up with something good if you're going to make me change what I want to do or something. And Nick did. Do you know what I mean? Nick challenged us with it. And I thought, so overall, and that's why I booked that one, the best film, actually, like, as a film. Like,
also, it's done the best. I mean, you know.
As it really did it?
And when I say it's done the best, what I mean by that is it went out on the most cinemas. So no Foot Soldier film has been on that many cinemas, and Amazon obviously paid a lot more money than they normally pay for it. Hulu bought it in America, and it went out, I think, 60 million people in America, and that that hasn't happened before. So and I think South Korea bought it as well, which is bizarre. But when you look at that there's with Foot Soldier, it always goes out in Australia, New Zealand, Germany. There's places where they always go out. But the fact that Amazon come in with a big offer, outbid Netflix, and then Hulu come in on America, and then obviously as these things run out, then an Amazon or Netflix might take it in America. In England, like if you go on Netflix now, there's Foot Soldier 3 and Foot Soldier 4. And I'm sure, when Amazon give up Origins, Netflix will want to take Origins. So again, it just keeps going and going and going.
Do you know what? When I'm having a day or feeling I just put on Netflix or Amazon, because like there's about 500 films that I've been part of on there. I'm like, oh, well, not such a bad day after all. I just like, it's like, oh, fuck. Any film like it says British films is like just comes up, bang, bang, bang. I'm like, I'm in that one. I'm in that.
Yeah, I'm in all these. But when you actually look at, after Origins, what have you been sort of doing since then? Because I know you directed a movie as well.
Yes, I have. I really want to become a writer,
right,
and get into directing. So I went off to university and studied philosophy to give myself a skill set, an analytical skill set, so I can look at the work differently than what I was prior. And then I thought, like we were talking about, like I'm not someone that who's scared of taking a chance, taking risks, because they're not really that like adverse, are they? Right. Do you know what I mean? It's just someone's going to say, "Oh, you're not good enough," or someone's going to say, "No, like, oh, big deal." Do you know what I mean? Right. Get over yourself. Do you know what I mean? So I've challenged myself, and I wrote and directed a short film with Jamie Winston, who plays the lead in it.
He's great, Jamie.
Jamie, I love Jamie. He's brilliant. And then from that, and the producers, they then went and wrote and directed a feature film, which pretty much coming out, I think, February this year. I think we just sold it, or just signed in the last bit. I had to change it a little bit, like some of the details for the distributors, which is a whole other game that I'm sure you know about yourself, Tel. Yeah. And I've put together a new one that was going to happen, but the writer's strike just put a curveball on that. So I'm not sure what that's going to happen, but yeah, I hope to, as well as continue doing acting, to get into writing and directing. I love it. I love the industry. It's just a wonderful industry. We're very lucky to be part of it.
Yeah. Well, I've got a couple of things that I'm working on, though, and obviously, we've had some great times together. So hopefully we'll be able to.
But likewise, because it's funny because there's a couple of films I'm working on that I'm putting together that. When I finally got them together, I'll put them in front of you and Andy, because you are the people, like I said, that if you say something's going to happen, it materialises.
What I've always tried to do in my career is, if I say I'm going to pay you, I pay you, and if I say we're going to make that film, we're going to make the film. And
it's rare though. It's rare in our game.
But lots of people want to meet up and talk about stuff and have meetings about things. I don't want to do that when I know it's going to happen, because otherwise I'm wasting people's time. As you know, sometimes the money falls through. Sometimes you can't raise all the money. Sometimes, you develop something and you want to make it, and it's a great idea. But then, there's a writer's strike, or there's a actor's strike, or there's an issue with something, and then you've got to just sort of sit back and think, we've got to wait for this. And somebody once said this to me, and I do actually quite like this saying. They said, whatever you do in your life, whatever you work on, develop, get involved with, some things are meant to happen and some things aren't meant to happen. And some things are meant to happen when they're meant to happen, right? And you're not in control of any of this shit, right? You think you are, but you're not, right? So you just have to go along, be open to what happens, and then just, see what happens. And I think if you have that mindset, it stops driving yourself mad, because you can drive yourself mad worrying, why hasn't this happened? Why hasn't it happened? Oh, it's been so fucking long. We developed a film about Shah of Iran, right?
Oh wow, really?
And we got an Oscar-nominated writer to write it. Then we brought on an Oscar-winning director. He's now done a draft of it. So like, that's just evolving into something great.
Yeah.
But it's taken years. And the thing is, you know, like when we set out to do it, it was like, if we can get an Oscar-nominated writer, then we can get a director, we can get this film made. But then obviously you do that, and it doesn't get made, but then you've got to do another draft. And obviously when you do these drafts, as you know, as a writer, you know, it doesn't take 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean? And then things happen, politics change, the world changes.
Yeah, of course.
And you sort of manoeuvring around. And with that, that's not going to be a cheap film to make. That's going to probably be 25, 30, 40 million. Do you know what I mean? It's not a film you can make.
Yeah.
You've got to build palaces. You've got it's a period fucking film in the 70s. You know what I mean? And the guys, you're in Iran. You can't film in Iran, obviously. So wherever you go, you've got to recreate that. Then he's going to the Bahamas. Then he's going to America. Then he's going to France. So you've got to go to all these locations. And you can't make that on a low budget.
Sounds epic. Yeah. No, that's right.
But that's the project that and that's got nothing to do with true crime. But that's something that I've developed, and that just shows you how long some of these things take, you know.
No, they do take time. But you sort of want them to have, like, you have the idea, don't you? And I think the impression is that you have the idea, you got the concept, and then it just happens. Do you know what I mean? But that, I wish that was the case. Do you know what I mean? But they do take a lot of hard work, and you know. And funny enough, making and writing and directing and making my own films, I have much more respect for you than I did prior to making.
Well, it makes you realise how hard it is.
It's fucking so hard.
Do you know what I'm saying?
So hard.
Anybody that doesn't understand the process, they probably look at it and go, "Oh, it's fucking easy. You just raise a bit of money, make the film, deliver the film, and that's it."
Oh my God.
But the dramas and the grief and the aggravation, and you got to deliver stuff, and then people deliver stuff, and then it's not right, and then you have to fucking redo it all, and then somebody wants this, and then you've got to get that. I mean, honestly,
the variables involved. It's like it is incredibly difficult.
It's the hardest game in the world, and a lot of people will go, "Oh, shut up," you know, whatever. But it is fucking difficult, and the thing is, but I thrive on that. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I've always in life, I've never took the easy road. I've always liked to go. If someone says to me that's really hard, or you know, how are you going to make that? I always want to do it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why. Maybe I'm sadist. I don't know.
No, I think, mate. I think. We have it's a cultural thing that we've got to be really careful of, and it is. Me and a few friends have been talking about it. It is the wanting the maximum reward for the minimal amount of effort.
Right.
And in theory, that sounds great. Like we'd all like to.
Everyone to sign up for it.
Do you know what I mean? Of course, right? But like, if that becomes part of your daily life, then you're. Because that's not how the world works, but that's basically what we all want. You know what I mean? We all want.
It's normally maximum effort, minimal rewards, and then it starts to get a bit better and a bit better and a bit better.
But we all want to do cool and have loads for it. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like who doesn't? Do you know what I mean? Like, who fucking doesn't? You know what I mean? And I mean, and I think acting is a really good litmus test of like, you know, like. I've been acting for 20 odd years. Yeah. If I'd done any other profession for 20 odd years, I should be getting more than I did when I first started again. But acting doesn't always look like that. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not always reflective like that. So that's why it's very, very difficult. The same with like filmmakers. You could be a filmmaker for 20 years and you might have got more for a film that you made 20 years ago than you would now. But if you're a carpenter or a plumber or a tradesman, for example, it would be the opposite. The longer the more experience you have, the more sort of the better you are. The skill set you've developed should be rewarded in its sort of income coming back to you, for example. But in acting and all performing arts, that's how difficult it is because you know, like me and you, we've been doing this 20 odd years. We've been lucky. We're the lucky ones that we've been part of these fantastic films. We're really lucky because most people's experience of acting is doing cool, mate. Do you know what I mean? And calling themselves an actor for 20 years, but done nothing. You know what I mean? That's you know, like we said, 95% of all actors are out of work, and that's the reality for actors. So don't give up. Fucking go for it. Do you know what I mean? Don't listen to anyone. Have the courage to go for it against all adversity.
Right. So an actor comes to you now. This is Ro. Just left drama school. I fucking love you. You're one of my favourite actors. What advice have you got for me? What would you say?
God, well, if you've done the right thing,
Yeah, proper job.
yeah. you've done the right thing by getting a bit of training, because it's not essential, but it will just give you a little bit of technique when the pressure comes on you. Because like, I think everyone wants to be an actor, and then they get on set and realise the camera turns on them, and then they themselves, and that's when you really tell if you're an actor or not. Do you know what I mean? Whether you can deliver it on the day. So keep that courage, practice. If you know, like, just practice. Put on. You can buy a camera like these. Make a film yourself.
Right.
Make some stuff. Put on. Get your pals who are actors. Go to classes. If you're an actor and you're not acting, then why not? That's the question. Like, because it doesn't have to be like you're going to be in the Brad Pitt film. You know what I mean? Like, I've been acting for 25 years. I ain't been in a Brad Pitt film.
You might be though.
Oh well, touch wood. You know what I mean? You know, it might be doing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. You know.
Here comes Roland. Hi. And you have like different coloured hats on.
I might
You'll have a beard, you'll have a funny nose,
grumpy.
glasses.
I think. Grumpy. I think. You know what I mean?
I can do a lot of things with CGI now.
But yeah, hopefully make me look younger. That's what they haven't done. They're going to make us look younger in the next one.
Oh
aren't
yeah,
they?
yeah.
They're going to
They've done it in
CGI.
The Irishman. Yeah, so we can do that. We'll be at 15 in the next one.
But no, I think for anyone who wants to be an actor, never give up.
Right.
That's my advice. Never ever give up. Don't accept that that people might not think you're good enough.
Right.
There'll be something for you to do. You just got to find it. Do you know? And that's all it is.
Brilliant.
Like the casting people, the agents, they run the game. That's the way it is. It's a business. But don't let them like grind you down. Don't like believe that you can't do it.
Right.
Just have a go.
Yeah.
You might surprise yourself.
Yeah. Believe you can fly. I'm not going to start singing R. Kelly songs. So,
That's
so that's what I said. I didn't say, I can believe I can fly. I said, believe you can fly.
Believe.
Really? But I've really enjoyed having you on, mate. And it's been great catching up and sharing some stories with people that, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Criminal Connection podcast. I'm Terry Stone, aka the Podfather. And Roland Manukian, what a fucking great guest. We had so many stories to tell, so many funny memories. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe, like, and tell everybody about the Criminal Connection podcast.